Welcome back to our organizational value rankings. Coming in at number 12, it's a goalie they took a huge bet on, 5 years at $4 million annually. It's Joonas Korpisalo.
Ross, I am cautiously optimistic about Joonas Korpisalo, and I wish I could just dig down and get positive Pillsy only and be on the hype train for Korpisalo, but I do have some concerns. But goalies are crazy. Like, if anyone tells you they can know for certain whether a goalie is going to be good or bad, they're going on a hunch and they're hoping it works out, because it is so difficult to predict goalies, especially when you've got goalies that have been in the league for a while. Joonas Korpisalo is 29 years old now, so he's no spring chicken when it comes to NHL games. He's played over 200 of them, and I think last year was a really good sign, though, because you saw he had pretty stable numbers on a terrible Columbus Blue Jackets team. Then he gets traded to the LA Kings, and for the remainder of the regular season, he was an absolute stud. And then playoffs, he started off hot, and then things didn't work out for him later on and in the second half of that playoff series. But I do think Korpisalo is the right type of goalie to come in here. I think the Senators needed a 1A type goalie to be a good tandem with Anton Forsberg, who's a great 1B. The days of having a prototypical starter, number one guy, and a traditional backup like that, they do like a 60-22 game split, those days are coming to an end. There's maybe 5 goalies like that in the league that can handle that. But I think for success in the regular season, at least, which is where the Ottawa Senators got to start when it comes to goaltending, this is a recipe for success.
And I like that they're getting a guy who's on the ascent, right? It's not Matt Murray where it's like, oh, we can fix him, or Cam Talbot where it's like, oh, can he replicate last year's numbers now at 35 years old? There were so many question marks about that. Whereas for Korpisalo, the real question mark is, was last year a sign of things to come, or was his numbers in the previous seasons more indicative of the future performance? Now, I would point to the fact that he finally got a lingering hip issue dealt with.
Yep.
Sat out for a while, said, I'm going to get this 100% healed. Did, and then he came back, and you can't even use the excuse like, oh, he was on a really good team in LA, because his numbers at the start of the year with Columbus, the worst defensive team in the league without their number one defenseman for the whole season, they were unbelievable numbers there too. So if you put it all together, you're hoping that even if it regresses a touch, you're still looking at a good goalie, because Korpisalo between both teams last year had a .914 save percentage during the regular season. The numbers were ridiculous once he got to LA, a .921 save percentage in 11 games. But overall, 39 games, an 18-14-4 record, a .287 goals against, a .914 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Pillsy, I'm telling you right now, if the goals against and save percentage are identical to what he put up last year, the Sens make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree, especially if health permitting, him and Anton Forsberg can... Honestly, they just need to have a little bit better than average seasons. Like, yeah, anything under 3 goals against and over 9-10 for them. And the offensive weapons of this Ottawa Senators team and the better decor, they should be able to carry that. So I would say it's not high expectations for them. It's just about consistency, because that was the issue last year with Cam Talbot. Like, he'd have good games and then he'd have games where he absolutely fell apart. So if we can just get some consistency from both these guys, I'm stoked about how this looks.
I'm extremely excited. Not only to see his gear, because we saw our friend Ott and Bothered, great handle on Twitter, posted that he's got like the Ray Emery gold cage.
Yeah.
Like, not like the Anton Forsberg like matted gold. It's shiny,
sparkling. Yeah,
it's spectacular. So I'm really excited to see the new setup that Korpisalo is going to pull out here. Now, when you look at Korpisalo, like, the first thing that comes up, if you remember in the bubble, it was actually one of the first games in the bubble. It was game 1, Columbus, Tampa, and Joonas Korpisalo made an NHL record for most saves. He didn't just get the record, Pillsy. He absolutely slaughtered the previous record. And it was in a losing effort, sure, but it was a 5 overtime game. Korpisalo made 85 saves. 85 saves. Like, can you imagine? That's what a goalie makes in 4 games.
Yeah, that's honestly insane. So, like, you've got a guy that is a battler. He's a warrior. He was like 85 saves. I don't care if you win or lose that game. That's pretty damn incredible.
The previous record was 73 with Kelly Rudy in 1987. Now, Shesterkin got close in 2022. He made 79 saves, but still 85 holds up as the most. But 5-year contract, like that, you gotta pay to get in free agency, but typically you're paying on the AAV as well. I think the Senators did well in terms of how they navigated this contract negotiation where, yeah, he got his term, but we got a couple questions actually on YouTube yesterday being like, hey, what about Forsberg? He's got 2 years left. Mads is coming up. What if you like Forsberg? Then you're kind of in a pickle with Korpisalo. But man, the way Korpisalo's deal is structured, and I don't want to get ahead of myself again here, but it is diving towards the end. The last 2 years are buyout friendly, I say in quotations, but you hope it doesn't come to that. And honestly, at a $4 million AAV, like that ain't bad. I'm actually really excited to see how this comes up. I know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Matt Murray, Cam Talbot, I know, but I'm ready to get hurt again. It's a goalie friendly show, and I'm dialing it in for Joonas Korpisalo to play 55 games this year. 50 to 55 games, I think, is the sweet spot for him. You get him in the mix, get him comfortable, and get him on a roll, but have Forsberg spot him out for, like, I wouldn't mind too if Forsberg plays 3 games in a row, different times of the year. If he's hot, he's hot, but I think it's ultimately going to work out to about a 55 to whatever the rest is split, 30 something.
So last year was Korpisalo's most games played with 39. He had 22, 33, 37, 27, 18. So 50 games would be a big ask. I set my split at, 3 games less, but 47, 35. I think typically you want less than 50 games played for a tandem type team. I was looking at 50 games. I think, if I remember correctly, is right around the 15th most games for goalies last season. Like, so the front half play more than 50 and the back half play less than 50. Like the split that Ullmark and Swayman had, I think would be what you're trying to do with Forsberg and Korpisalo. I think they went like it was almost an even split, but that's because they both just had incredible seasons. So I think if you have a little bit closer, 47-35, that works well.
And they did have a bit of a split. I just looked it up from last year in LA. When he got to LA, he played 11 games and LA played 19 over that span. So it was an 11-9 split.
Yeah, so I think that's something that would work out just because Korpisalo's never been the number one guy. He was always working with Merzlikins for most of it, at least.
11-8 split for 19 games, math guy.
There we go. That's good math there. Speaking of math, I don't want to end this on a negative note, but this is a stat that kind of put up a red flag for me, Ross.
Ooh.
Joonas Korpisalo has played 221 NHL games in his career. That's 9 years worth of service. In those 221 games, 4 shutouts.
Really?
That's not very many shutouts. Now, of course, you got to look at playing for a Columbus Blue Jackets team that has not been very good. In fact, they've been quite bad the last couple seasons, but only 4 shutouts in 221 games is a little alarming.
Yeah, it is. Well, hey, what shutout in a Sens debut?
Up against the Hurricanes. Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. That's, I almost said Anton. His best friend, Anton's best friend, Joonas Korpisalo, makes his debut on our organizational value rankings at number 12.